Hey there, everyone. I am Kate Volman, and I'm so excited this is Mary Wong's very first Buzzing on Blab with Mary. So I'm gonna turn it over to Mary Wong so she can introduce kind of the topic of today and also our fun special guests who've joined us.
Well, thank you. And I want to say thanks, Kate. But I want to thank my two very dear friends for coming today. This is a very special day for me. This was an idea that came up. I was like, what is a blab? And those of you that know me, social media is becoming my new favorite topic to kind of learn about. But buzzing on Blab, and what we decided to do was, let's figure out how we can do this. I feel like we're in the Brady Bunch. But I wanted to bring my two favorite guests to talk about how they've made a difference and how they have gone forward and gotten, and truly what they've done to build a community of supporters for themselves. Because these are two of the most action-orientated people that I know. And Gila Kurtz and from Dog is Good, and Whanadi. I think I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and tell people what you've done. So, Gila, you want to go first?
Well, since you mentioned the Brady Bunch, I kind of feel like I should go, Marsha. Mary, what are you doing? You inspire and amaze me all the time. And you're right, this Blab is very, very cool. So thank you for the kind introduction. And more importantly, thank you so much for your friendship, because it truly has impacted my life in ways that are completely unimaginable. As I'm sure many of the viewers would share my same sentiments along those lines. But as Mary said, my name is Gila Kurtz. I am the founder and co-owner of Dog is Good, which is a lifestyle brand for dog lovers. If you feel any kind of unique bond or relationship with your dog, we have the product to celebrate that. So you can check all that out at dogisgood.com. But one of the things that we built our business around was the idea that we wanted to have a strong philanthropic presence, and we wanted to create a corporate giving program that was something that would be impactful. And in the beginning, when we were first starting out several years ago, it really just boiled down to what could we do to support all the various animal welfare organizations that would reach out to us in the forms of donations and fundraising events and things like that. As we grew and gained better footing and expanded our ideas of how we could give back, we looked to create very specific year-long programs, in addition to continuing to support the different animal welfare organizations that reached out to us. So now we select an organization that we focus on very extensively throughout the year. The objective is not only to raise funds, but to use the reach that we've created in the building of the Dog is Good brand to create awareness for those organizations too, so that they can continue to grow through marketing initiatives and PR initiatives, as well as the fundraising events that we can support. We also create product lines that will support those organizations, and I'm very proud to say that those have raised some significant funds for those various things. So that's our primary focus as a company. Given that we're a veteran-owned business, we tend to have narrowed down the work that we do. The past couple years has been around military veterans and dogs. So last year we did a big program for Freedom Service dogs, which rescue dogs from shelters. So this was like a win-win all the way around for me. They saved the animals from shelters. They trained them for service to support veterans with PSD and other physical disabilities. This year, we're working very closely with Dogs on Deployment. And as of this morning, we just came up with the design. Mary, you are gonna love this design. It's awesome. I wanted to create something that really supported not only their organization, but spoke to a universal message about rescue and about making a difference. And we actually even incorporate those words, make a difference, in the design. You're just gonna flip when you see it. But anyway, the focus for this organization is to provide foster homes for our service members who are deploying, often leaving their pets behind and worried, not knowing what to do with them. But the fundraising goes to support what they, for the military families who need financial aid in the care of their animals so they don't surrender them. The objective is to keep these animals out of the shelter system, to keep those families united. We know what pets do for us, and the military families, need them as much as anybody else, given their service. So that's what we do right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Gila. Okay, Whanadi. I don't know, for those of you that went to the Women's Symposium, this is my favorite picture in the whole world, was when Whanadi stood up in a beautiful accented voice with her eyes shut, rubbing her hands together and calming us all and going forward with her a few-minute speech that she gave. Whanadi, please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them what you're working on.
Thank you so much, Mary. It's an absolute thrill to be here. Yet, like another first for me. It feels like since the day I met you, I'm having a whole lot of firsts. Well, my name is Whanadi, as Mary says. I'm the proud founder of the Affinity for Wellness movement. And really, the mission that I'm on is to create or help create happier and healthier families so that we have happier and healthier homes, communities, and the world ultimately. What I've noticed on my journey is, when we are well and we're feeling strong, then we feel so much more capacity to reach outside of ourselves and make a difference. And that ultimately is my mission and why I have aligned myself with the likes of you, Mary, because you are the queen of difference makers. So really what this started out as is me coaching. So I'm a health coach. I'm a mindset coach. I lately have been focusing more on the mindset piece because what I'm noticing is that is this plethora of information out there of what to do and what to eat and when to eat and how to exercise and just loads and loads and loads of information. And what I noticed was missing was just a pause for people to really hone in on the resources they already have within themselves. And what I've started noticing is when I started taking my clients through a very specific NLP process, I noticed that people were starting to reconnect with the power that's already within themselves. And when you reactivate that power and all of that resourcefulness that's already within you, that's when the magic happens. That's when you're open to trying new recipes. That's when you're open to trying out a new exercise regimen, etc., etc. So really all I've done is I have drawn from what has been a very, very long and sometimes very painful road to wellness that I've been on personally. And I've just taken that as well as the lessons that I learned climbing Kilimanjaro, which is what I shared at the Symposium. And I've done my best to package that in such a way that I can offer that to people in order to just propel them forward faster and more powerfully than what I was able to do initially. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I'm up to.
And for those people who didn't go to the Women's Symposium, one of the things that Mary and I talked about with doing these types of the blabs and sharing these different stories was the idea behind, obviously today we're talking about how do you build a support system. So for those that are watching, obviously you are both very extremely passionate about what you do. Mary, that goes without saying, you are as well. But it's important to surround yourself with the right people so that you can continue on in your business and in your life and stay healthy and fit and all those things. But at the same time, just being around people that are going to help lift you up when you aren't necessarily feeling that way. And I think that was what came out of the Women's Symposium, so much of this collaboration and community of these amazing women that wanted to stay connected and really support each other. So for some of those women that are watching that might be thinking, I want to be doing something, but I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know where to start. What advice would you give some of those when you both obviously had just a small idea that turned into these really great businesses?
Well, I think that's a great point. And it's interesting because just earlier this morning, I could pull it off my wall and to show you. Actually, would it be appropriate for me to just grab a picture off the wall? Okay, hold on one second. All right, hold on one sec. Okay, so this is what, let's see. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, there we go. This is one, can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So
yes, that's great.
This is one of many pictures that I have on my wall. But as I was looking at it this morning, literally, I was looking at the mess. For some reason, a message popped out to me from that. And that was about when you surround yourself with the right team, it's a winner. When you put the right players in place, you can't do anything but succeed. And that has become so apparent in my day-to-day operation. I think that that's the first step. Not only do we know that we cannot do it alone, but putting the right people in place around you, whether they're actually working within your business or outside of the business, like Whanadi was saying earlier, the level of support that women can provide each other in terms of encouragement, in terms of sharing knowledge. I had a phone call the other day with a person about sales strategy and giving me some tips on how I can tweak and improve what I'm currently doing here, which we implemented right away and are already seeing results. So it's about that ability to reach out and the willingness to say, you know what, I don't know what, it's either I don't know what I want to do or I don't know how to do what I need to do to get to where I want to go. And putting yourself in that position of willingness to learn and being around positive people. I write this down every morning. I choose to surround myself only with positivity. So in those moments when I'm sensing, negative vibes or poor energy, I want to either help, if it's in my business, for those to make that shift so that we can get on the right track and get into flow, or I'm just going to walk away from certain things. And I feel like that's something that was really evident in the Women's Symposium. It was probably, I go to many conferences, but that particular event was so unique on a number of levels that it stays with me today, like 2-3 months. Is it 3 months now? 2 months later, almost. The connection with the women, but also the reaching out and the ability to ask for assistance as well as give what we know to support others. So that's something that I agree with what you were saying. I'm very supportive of that and believe that. Just as I was thinking about it this morning, man, it depends on who I surround myself with as to where I'm headed, and more importantly, the level to which I can make an impact.
I just love what Gila is saying. So to piggyback off that, I would say, what I would add is that we give ourselves permission to have a beginner's mind every single day. And that is something that I've learned from my yoga practice. And really, I know that when I step onto my mat every morning, I know my body is different. I know my mental and emotional state is different. And so there's a certain amount of compassion that comes into my practice as a result. And I feel that taking that into your everyday, really just gives you access to more grace for yourself. And I feel like when we're in that space, like Gila says, something magical opens up. You're opened up to allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And then when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you start reaching out. You start reaching out with intention. And I think just coming back to, Kate's question earlier about what we got from the symposium, that was probably the biggest takeaway. It was about showing up. It was about serving, but ultimately it was about being vulnerable and letting what was in the room in. And so that would be my invitation to everybody, is something that I do with my clients, which is have a look at what resources you have already in terms of which people like Gila was saying. What friends do you have? What colleagues do you have? Who can you reach out to about what specifically? And then what internal resources do you have? And once you have that clear, and once you have an idea of where you'd like to go, you can go back to that list and you can see, okay, well, Mary Wong knows all about walking on fire. So I'll reach out to Mary and I'll go walk on a fire with her, because I did. So
you gotta try.
It's that openness.
So I would like to know is that when you're building the community of supporters, I think that when you're first out there and you're doing this, I think it's hard for some people to ask. I know it was for me. I know it was it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to put yourself out there and say, I need help with this, because sometimes it makes it look like you don't understand everything, and it's a difficult situation. It's a balance, I think. So for you, I know that in the very beginning, putting everything together and doing all of that, it's a struggle to know where do you start, and who do you go, who do you trust, how do you know what to do, how did you start to build that piece for yourself? Because I know for people that are just entering into a business or starting, it's how do I go out and ask?
And I'll be perfectly honest, that's probably been the biggest challenge for me, is the ask. And as I was saying, I think now that I'm becoming more and more comfortable with what I'm up to, and I'm becoming more and more comfortable with actually sharing who I am and sharing what my heart's desire is, what I'm noticing is people are showing up more. You know, they're showing up on my path, and they are the ones that are extending their hand. And that sometimes, for me anyway, it's a lot easier sometimes for me when somebody else is the one extending the supportive hand, you know, and saying, well, hey, I heard you sharing about this, or I didn't know you were interested about that. I could possibly be of support to you in that way. So again, for me, a big part of this was just getting comfortable with, what am I passionate about? What am I up to? And where do I need support? I would definitely recommend having some sort of a mastermind crew, having some sort of a team where you're all speaking the same language. That has made a huge, huge difference as well. Being surrounded by people that are on the same mission to take themselves to the next level and are willing to speak this type of, or have these types of conversations rather.
I agree completely with you, Whanadi. That's something I say all the time, is making that effort to put yourself in a position where you are surrounded by others who are on that same journey. Everybody has their own mission and their own goals and objectives, but the path to get there is all the same. We're trying to elevate ourselves to be the best version of ourselves so that we can not only create the best businesses for ourselves, but businesses that impact the world outside of ourselves. And for me, to speak to what Mary was talking about, how do I ask? Well, I labeled myself a recovering perfectionist. Letting people know, you know what, I actually, and believing myself, I do not have to be perfect in every key area. And I am also just a voracious learner. So if I can learn from the best, it'll save me time. I'm kind of like I'm always in a hurry. I want to get it done. So I want to take the shortest path. So why not ask those who really are the experts and learn from them? And I can also learn from others' mistakes too, and course correct what I'm doing based on that. But I love what you said, Whanadi, about showing up, because I think when you make a conscious decision to show up in a particular way, that shifts how you are, how you're behaving, and how you choose to interact in your day, like the things that you choose to do in the day and with the people around you. And once you make a commitment to show up in a particular way, really diving in. And that was something that I had to do personally over the past several months, is make it a little bit of a course correction and a shift into how I was showing up in my business. And as a result, in doing that, seeing the changes in my team around me, making the changes I needed to make in the team around me, and then being able to elevate things to a brand new level. And that comes with showing up, but more importantly, making that decision how you're going to show up. And that you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to.
And I think it's one of the things that I loved so much about the symposium, and Whanadi, I've told you this 1,000 times, but I'm just going to share it again, was the fact that it was a place where you felt comfortable. I mean, Whanadi got up on stage and said, I'm thinking about maybe being a writer. I don't know if it's good enough. And here she is saying, I don't know if I'm good enough or if this is going to be good, yet I'm going to say it to 350 women right now. And that just took a lot of guts and courage. And it was also just that whole idea of taking action and trying something. I mean, I laugh with Mary all the time because Mary is just like, yep, cool, let's do it. Blab, what? I don't know. Let's just make it happen. So just that whole concept and idea of asking for help and then also just trying stuff and taking action. And you know what? You might not succeed. And Mary, share your story, because she came in when we were putting the symposium together, and she had this big vision of what it was going to be, and things weren't working out exactly as planned, because they never do. And she decided to like completely change your mindset. So tell that story just about how you decided that it's okay to ask for help, and you know, you just kind of took a whole different stance on your idea of like not getting to where you thought you were going to go, but that's okay.
Well, these are two of my biggest supporters. And so they have been huge in changing truly my life. But for me, the Women's Symposium is something that, you know, that I believe in. And it was a platform, Gila, that I look at you today, and I look last year at you, and I remember the joy of watching you up on that stage, and you turned to me and said, this is what I want to do. I want to speak. This is where my joy is. And I was like, this symposium was just life-changing for everybody. So we wanted to be able to carry it on. But being able to carry that message on and on is really what this is all about, and the Wing Women thing is all about. But what we were struggling with being able to, with everything else that's been going on, like how, you know, people weren't responding to having to move it, to change it, to do all these things to it. So how was I going to do this? And it wasn't working. And I said, you know, if I have to tell people that it's not working, it's going to look like we don't have it together. How's it going to look, and how are we going to present ourselves? I've never come out and said I need help like that. You know, it always comes across that we've got it all together. And then finally I just said, you know what, it's more important. It's not really about me. It's not really about all this. And if we don't get it to, you know, work, we just won't be able to do it. And I'm not going to cancel. So I need to just put my ego over here to the side and put it out there to the universe and just ask for some help. And that's what I did. And everybody came to the table with some wonderful ideas. And I would tell you that's the power of crew. That is truly the power of having people that care and love you, support you.
And it was fun, just the whole, everyone there, it was just such an amazing energy. And Gila, I loved having dinner next to you and getting to know you and what you were doing, and just kind of, I mean, tell people a little bit about even just your story of, you had this super successful business, and then you went to the symposium last year, and then you said you were going to be an author and a speaker, and now you're doing some of that kind of work, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, Mary's right. It really was that moment at the symposium 2 years ago, which was my focus of the presentation, was to share what was going on with our corporate giving program and how we were doing it, because the first big project we did was a little bit different than what most people do. But that, in an instant, something happened. It's really kind of hard to describe, but I had such a shift, and I knew that there was something deeper inside of me that really I needed to share, that it was much bigger than me. It was much bigger than Dog is Good as a whole. And in growing the Dog is Good brand, you know, there were a lot of things over the past several years that have gone into play to make this happen. I am a type A personality. I am very disciplined. So when things need to get done, I do it, but I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. And so being on stage in that moment reminded me of some of the more simple joys that I have, which is just teaching. It's just sharing things that either inspire or educate others, and doing so in a way that can be fun. And so in that moment, I knew I needed to shift how I was being within the Dog is Good business, and shift my role in a different plane, not completely change it, but just make a shift. And so through that, I did commit to writing a book, which was the book, Fur-Covered Wisdom, A Dog Can Change the Way You See the World. It really was a year-long journey that I chose to take through the eyes of dogs, since my life is very dog-centric. And just to take those anecdotal lessons that I have learned, my background being a professional dog trainer. So for years, I was the teacher, and finally kind of committing myself to being the student in that moment. When the student is ready to learn, the teacher always appears. And for me, it appeared in the form of my dogs. And deciding how I was going to show up, going back to what Whanadi said, in a different way, a way that provided me with some inner peace and inner joy. And so that's really where I made that shift. And the year of transition, going through that journey, determining how I wanted to be on every single day, which is something I actually write out every single day. I have this gift called life, and I only have one. And today is one day in that life. And if I choose to use it, I can use it well. If I choose not to use it, it's just gone forever. So how will I be? And then I write out exactly how I will be today. And that gives me...
And she's...
Oh, go ahead, Mary. That's pretty much it. And so, yeah, that has been such a life shift. And my role is very different today than it was a year ago, and personally as well as in my business.
And I just posted in that if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, please just let us know. You can type that in the fun little message box, and we can ask if you guys want to ask any questions. Oh, I think Mary's internet. Oh no.
Oh, she got frozen. At least she froze with a smile on her face.
Right? So let's just talk a little bit about again, so the people that are watching this, it's extremely important to have that support system. I think too, that whole concept and idea just of being, putting yourself in the right mindset, being really mindful of, every day. And like you said, I mean, Gila, that's amazing that you type out the day that you want to have. I mean, I think a lot of us hear these things like meditation is good and, set your day right. But how many of us actually take the time to journal and really talk through stuff? And I think it's so easy to get in that state of I'm not good enough, and who am I to think I can start a business, or who am I to, start a Blab or a blog, or who cares to see any of my ideas. So for some people that would love to write a book or start a little side business, and they just, they're just kind of feeling like they just don't start. What advice do you give to those people that are just in that place?
Whanadi, I want to give you a chance. I'll just say 30 seconds because it is important to that. There was a point, probably 2 months into writing the book, where I remember breaking down, bawling. Why am I doing this? Who would want to read this? What's it gonna, what good is it gonna do? And then I, after I wiped off all the mascara, I pulled myself together and was like, just do it. I don't care if anybody reads it. It's going to be cathartic. Just make it happen. Now, since publishing it, I have received emails and phone calls from people I do not know about the impact that book has had on their life. So if I chose to not share for whatever reason, fear, concern of what other people might think, then those people would be missing out on something of value that was valuable to them. And I guess you just get to the point of, why not you? Why not?
Right.
I love that. Yep. Whanadi?
Right. I just love what Gila is saying. And honestly, I mean, in the spirit of being completely vulnerable and honest, if it weren't for Crew, if it weren't for Mary, if it weren't for just putting it out there, that I was battling a bit to put myself out there, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you ladies right now. Big parts of this was, I joke and I say that I was tricked into where I am now, because when it comes under the guise of supporting somebody else, then I'm the first person in line. And that's really how I landed up at the Symposium. It was You know, it was my connection to my love for and my belief in Mary and her mission that got me to show up. And when I showed up, then all of this other magic started happening. So perhaps it's not your usual advice or typical advice that you would hear out there, but for me, it's you know, often the first step, the first really powerful step can be showing up for somebody else. And when you show up for somebody else and there's less pressure and you just show up for your love for them and you allow yourself to just be you and allow yourself to shine and other people start noticing, something magical happens, like a momentum takes effect. And really that's what's happened since the symposium. There I was 1 minute signing up to attend, you know, in honor of our crew member. Then all of a sudden there was an invitation and for the greatest honor to introduce Gila on stage. I said yes to that. And then there was an opportunity to present on the panel. I said yes to that. And after that, I mean, gosh, invitations to have radio interviews have come my way. Invitations to speak at women's clubs have come my way. All as a result of just showing up once. Just once.
You know, I because you know I'm one of your greatest fans too, Whanadi. I often find that people, for an individual, others see in you things that you don't see. They have such belief, and I guess belief is the best word, such belief in your ability, in your conviction, in your gift, that sometimes you don't see it. And I don't mean you specifically, I mean in general, women in general. Yeah. But at some point, you have to take the glasses from that person and look through them and see exactly what they see and then own that. You know what I mean? It becomes your reflection. It has to be. And that is the power of that crew, again, being surrounded by those who believe in you, but then also being brave enough to accept that belief, own it, and then take it to be who you need to be to make a difference.
I love that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. You guys are awesome. And awesome. I hope all of you that are listening, and I've read the comments on the side, you all make me cry. Aww. So the reason that we call this buzzing on the Blab, right? You changed it from
buzzing on Blab,
right? Is that I met Joan Rivers many years ago, and when I met Joan Rivers, I love Joan Rivers, and because she just was like me, she was just blunt, and she just said what she felt, and she just put it out there. And she told me that the bee was too fat to fly. And that, but it always does, and it's the most important, it's really very important to nature. It pollinates almost 90% of for everything, for food sources, for everything that we have. If the bee wasn't here, as you all well know, it would be a catastrophe to nature. And many people think that it just stings, but actually it is the most beautiful thing that pollinates your roses. It does all of those things. And the bumblebee's just been a huge symbol to me, because she told me that she's the one that stings and I would be the one that would fly. And I am always very grateful for that. So that's why we have the bee. That's what you're going to see, a lot of the bee, the buzz, the bee's knees, all that kind of stuff. But today I was going to say is that we talk about crew, and we talk about tribe, and we talk about all that stuff. I'm going to tell you all that I thank you for being the first ones on my Blab, but helping me build a beautiful beehive, because that's what we're going to be starting to do. And I thank you for your support.
Aw, Mary gets so emotional.
I know. She always makes me cry.
I know. She does. She has truly built such a community of supporters herself, and all through just giving, and just being such a difference maker in people's lives.
Yeah, well, you guys all help. And so all these ladies and men that are over here on the side that are writing all these great comments, you guys should know what they do. So I thank you all, because we will need your help as we start to grow and we go forward. And I thank you. And I think that as we start to build the community supporters, please don't forget that those young people that are out there that need our help in building what they're going to need for businesses and help in building. Summer's coming upon us this year. I mean, for right now. And a lot of kids don't have a lot of things to do for the summer. Go out there and make a difference and be a mentor, help with an internship, do something in your business to help those young kids for next year. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much, Gila and Whanadi. It was so great chatting with you today. We'll be blabbing with Mary every Tuesday at 3 o'clock p.m. Next week, we're talking about the apps to help you be more productive in your business with Fallon from Teach Geek. So definitely subscribe and check it out. And we look forward to continuing the conversations. And thanks to everyone who participated. And thank you, ladies, again. It was so good to see you both.
I love you guys.
Thank you. I know. Humbled and honored to be a part of your team.
Thank you.
So, all right. Take care.